This story was commented by Kaito Momota. So story time on why I'm afraid to go out with random people. One day late at night I wanted to watch some Netflix. Of course I could never find anything to watch, but right when I found something to watch the doorbell rang. We answered the door and there was a middle-aged woman standing there. She didn't look poor or homeless or anything like that. So anyways, she was begging my stepdad to go down the street with her because apparently a lady was yelling at her every time she went to see her friend. By the way, it was 9:30 p.m. at night, and then my mom offers to call the police, but the lady declined. She continues to beg for my stepdad to go with her, but he continues to refuse. Eventually she gets annoyed and leaves. We call the police because of suspicion, and apparently that woman walked around our neighborhood knocking on people's houses to get someone to go with her. The cops drove all night around the neighborhood to find her. But the creepiest thing was that she talks to herself every time she went to a new house. The lady who yelled at her was never real. She was just a delusional crazy homeless lady who wanted people to go with her to who knows where.
This is going to be a story time about how my whole school went on a manhunt for one student. Why was they looking for his ass? I'm gonna get into it. Let me clarify right now that I am a victim. I do not want nobody in the comments saying, why didn't you do this? Why did you do this? It could have been me. It could have been any of us. That's why I minded my business throughout this whole thing. So I got to school a little late that day, but when I got to my class, I could tell there was a little tension in the air. I didn't know what it was, whether it was a teacher having a problem with a student or a student having a problem with another student. I just knew that the energy was off. So I'm sitting down in class minding my business per usual. The next thing I see is my teacher try to grab this one boy's phone. He immediately snatches it off his desk before she can grab it. That's when they get into this little tug-of-war type of thing. But the next thing you know, everybody sees this boy mollywop the teacher in the stomach. She falls and he runs out the classroom. Some kids started laughing and thought it was funny until the teacher wasn't waking up. This is when things get bad. This is going to be part 2 of the time my whole school went on a manhunt for one student. So like I said, this kid punched his teacher and ran out the classroom, and the teacher wasn't waking up anymore. So as you can imagine, a room full of drained high school students who just woke up a few hours ago, we were all kind of just like looking around at each other. No one thought to, I don't know, tell somebody that this shit happened. Like, were we silent? Or were we silenced? I blame the school system for making school so early because I feel like once you get to school, your cognitive functions get out the window. So I really try hard not to feel guilty about this, and I try not to blame my other classmates for not doing anything as well. And then eventually like 5 minutes passed and then we're like, okay, maybe we should check if she's awake at least. That's when one of the students get up and start to check. Well, they check and they say that she's not breathing. Obviously set something off in our brains, like this is an emergency, something needs to happen now. That's when a bunch of us ran to the office and they called the ambulance. This is going to be part 3 of the time my whole school went on a manhunt for one student. We went to the office and told them how the kid punched the teacher and the teacher wasn't waking up. Immediately, a bunch of staff ran to the class to see where the teacher was and what was going on with her. I didn't personally run to the office. When I say we, I mean my classmates. So I was still in the classroom when all the staff ran in. So they told everybody to exit the classroom and everybody needed to get out of the classroom because they needed to give her some privacy and examine her. So we were all standing outside of my classroom and it was like 30 kids. The teacher that was next door to us was really close to my teacher. They would always talk in the hallways. They had their lunch periods together, their study periods together, and her door was wide open. Why didn't we go in there and tell her what happened? Honestly, like I said, we were high school students. It was really early. So she came out once she saw all of us standing outside in the hallway and she was like, what's going on? Once we told her that a kid punched the teacher and that she passed out, her face drops and she announced that the teacher was pregnant. Mind you, nobody knew this because she hadn't announced it herself yet. This is when they called the ambulance. Like, this is going to be part 4 of the time my whole school went on a manhunt for one student. So now everybody knows that this teacher who is passed out on the floor and is not waking up is pregnant. That's when they decided to call the ambulance. I'm guessing they didn't call the ambulance earlier because they were waiting to see if they could try to get her to wake up. They went ahead and put the whole school on lockdown. Nobody was allowed to leave their class, and me and my classmates went into the teacher's classroom next to us. We were sitting in the classroom for like a couple hours, and throughout these couple of hours, what we were hearing outside of the classroom was complete chaos. There was a bunch of cops, a bunch of cop radios. There was dogs. We heard a bunch of yelling and running, and that's when the announcements go off once again. And that's when they announce that they're looking for that kid and they can't find him anywhere in the school. And they're gonna let the day go back to normal, but if anybody sees him, to report it. At this point, everyone at school already knew what happened because of social media, and once they heard on the announcements that they had permission to look for the kid, lots of kids took that as this is a scavenger hunt. When I say lots of kids, I mean the whole school. This is going to be part 5 of the time our whole school went on a manhunt for one student. So once they announced to report the kid who punched the pregnant teacher in the stomach if we see him throughout the school day, lots of kids took that as find him and bring him to me and started hunting him down. I mean, like, as they should. So anyways, yeah, complete chaos broke out. As soon as that bell rang, child, you would be able to leave school and nobody would notice. Everybody was in the hallways. People were looking under the stairwells. They were checking in the janitor's closet, opening up doors that they shouldn't be opening. And with everybody looking for this kid, we found him pretty fast. We did what the police and police dogs couldn't do. This kid was hiding in the band room under the band instructor's desk. They found him and arrested him on school property. We got word that that teacher did in fact lose her baby, but she was okay and she was alive, but she chose not to work at that school again. But she never came back, and I don't know, I think that kid is still in prison.
Story time about why I made my boyfriend stop being friends with his girl best friend. So a little background information. I was in my sophomore year of high school, and my boyfriend and I had been dating for about 6 months. And he had been best friends with this girl, we're gonna call her Addie, for about 3 years. Now, I had known Addie way before that, probably since we were in kindergarten. But her and I weren't like BFFs, we were more of acquaintances. But obviously, we became friends because she was always around my boyfriend. A month after him and I started dating, I decided that we had to set boundaries for their friendship. Because they had first period together, right? Well, every morning at 9:45, I would go on Snapchat and I would see a picture of them. And it would be her kissing him on the cheek. Not only would it be on her story, but it would also be on his. And I had her on Snapchat before that. She had never done that, ever. So he said that he had talked to Addie about it, right? And things were good for the next 2 months. Then they were forced to work together on a project. Part 2 about why I made my boyfriend stop being friends with his girl best friend. So like I said, they had been forced to work together on a school project. At least that's what he told me. So I brushed it off because I was not about to seem like the jealous girlfriend. Well, the next day, him and I were supposed to go out to the movies. So I texted him right before we were about to leave, and I said, "Hey, are you on your way to get me?" He goes, "OMG, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. I have to work with Addie on this project. She's about to come over my house." So at this point, I'm like really pissed off. So I text him and I say, "I thought you guys had a whole week to work on this project. Why does it have to be tonight?" Addie knew that him and I were supposed to go to the movies that night also. He said, "We just want to get it done really quickly so that way I can spend the rest of the week with you." And she's snapping me the whole time that she's at his house, off of his phone. So at around 1:30 a.m., I get a Snapchat from her on his account, and she's laying on his chest. Part 3 about why I made my boyfriend stop being friends with his girl best friend. So like I said, she snaps me at 1:30 in the morning, a picture of her laying on his chest, and it's captioned, "Hey girlie, I hope you don't mind, but I have to spend the night at his house. He lost track of time working on our project, and it's way too late for him to take me home." So at this point, I'm furious, and I don't snap her back. So the next morning, I call my boyfriend, and I asked him, "Hey, is Addie still there?" So he says yeah, and then I ask him to put me on speakerphone. So when he does, I say hi to Addie. She goes, "OMG, hey girl, how are you?" And that's when I pretty much go off on this. I tell him that while he was asleep, she was sending me pictures of her laying on top of him, off of his Snapchat, and that she was sending those type of pictures to multiple people on his Snapchat, because my best friend had texted me that morning, saying that she thought that we broke up because Addie was sending her pictures of her laying on top of him. So I tell him, pick, me or her. And she starts crying. After a minute of silence, he hangs up the phone and then blocks me. Good luck to the next girl.
So I went to the market with my mom and we came across this old lady and she comes up to me and she's like, "I saw you in one of my dreams." And I was like, "No way, Shawty, what happened?" And she was like, "I think I ran you over." Honestly, I thought that was a great joke. I thought it was very comedic and funny. So I laughed and I cracked the joke back. And I was like, "Why don't you try it in real life?" No one laughed. My mom told my therapist. "It was a joke, Mom. It was a joke, Marla. Come on, Marla."
Storytime about how I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me with my sister. Girlfriend and I have been together for 8 months, and when COVID hit, we decided to just quarantine together, and basically we moved in together. Oh, and yes, I am a girl. We got to know each other really well, and we really enjoyed the relationship. Well, my sister lost her job because of COVID, and she asked me if she could move in with my girlfriend and I. Of course, I said yes. She's my sister, and I totally have her back. So my sister moved into our guest bedroom. My sister also had a boyfriend, let's call him Jason. Jason was so in love with my sister, he wanted to propose and even asked me to look at rings. Well, Jason proposed and my sister said no. Everyone was shocked. My sister didn't give a reason why she didn't want to marry him, but she was really depressed. So my girlfriend would talk to her and just try to be her friend and comfort her. And I was happy that my girlfriend was trying to help out my sister. Jason kept trying to get my sister back, but she kept saying no. Well, one day I wake up from a nap and I hear weird noises coming from my sister's bedroom. I swing the door open and guess what I see? My sister and my girlfriend naked on her bed making out. The audacity. I walk in on my girlfriend and my sister doing the dirty. They both jump off the bed and start getting dressed really quickly. I left the room and sat on the couch. I couldn't even speak. My sister comes out of the room and asked me to understand. She explained to me that my sister was so kind to her after her breakup that she couldn't help but falling in love. I couldn't believe she said love. I just started to cry. Then my girlfriend comes out of the room fully dressed, and she swore that this was the first time they had ever even kissed. I didn't believe it for 1 second. My girlfriend was surprisingly really calm and it made me feel even worse. I started to get really angry, realizing that the whole time my sister was living there, they were probably hooking up and that's the reason why she didn't want to stay with her boyfriend or marry him. So I went into my sister's room, grabbed all her clothes and started throwing them out of our balcony. I even threw her laptop out the balcony. And we were on the second floor. My sister was just chasing me around the apartment trying to stop me, but I would push her away. And I noticed my girlfriend is on her phone. I took the phone away from her and guess what she was looking at? After I caught my sister and girlfriend doing the dirty, I threw all my sister's things out of my apartment. Then I noticed my girlfriend is on her phone, so I take it away and guess what she was looking at? She was deleting her Tinder and Bumble app, which means she was looking for people to date. Mind you, her and I had been in a committed relationship for the past 8 months. My girlfriend had no emotion. She didn't apologize, didn't say anything, but my sister was super emotional, apologizing. Then my girlfriend pipes up and says, you know, this is all your fault. I said, why? She said that I pressured her into moving in with me and that everything happened too quickly, which is not true. We both decided to move in together, and my girlfriend suggested the area we should actually live in. Then she turns to my sister and tells her that she's immature and that neither of us are worth being with. I told her to get her things and leave. She said, you're breaking up with me? I was like, of course I am. And she said that I would never find anyone as good as her. I forgave my sister because she's blood, and we're still living together. My sister has a boyfriend, and I'm trying to date people. But my ex still calls me even though she said I wasn't worth being with.
I have feelings for my coworker, but I'm engaged. I work in the medical field in a busy hospital. It feels like we've been short-staffed forever, and it never seems to improve. This leads to us having to work double shifts almost daily. The money's great, but I'm rarely ever home. Sometimes we even sleep at the hospital and don't go home for days at a time. The people I work with are amazing and almost like family. At the moment, I see them more than my actual family. We all look out for each other and we're super close. But some of us might be a little too close. There's this guy I work with named Jason that I've developed feelings for. When you're with someone almost 16 hours a day, I guess it's bound to happen. The problem is that I'm already engaged to my fiancé at home. It started out innocent at first. Casual, light flirting here and there, so subtle at times I didn't even think anything of it. One of those situations where you start out as friends, but things keep progressing. I knew my relationship was in jeopardy when Jason and I started texting when we weren't working. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't stop the conversations. If I'm being honest, at times I would be the one to text first and take the conversation away from the friend zone. I haven't talked to my fiancé about it and I'm scared to death too. I still love him and feel terrible that I have feelings for someone else, and I haven't even gotten to the worst part of it all. Part 2, I have feelings for my coworker, but I'm engaged. I didn't tell my fiancé about Jason because I felt like this was only happening because I was never home. I felt like hardly seeing him had to be the root cause of this mess. I talked to him about making more of an effort to see each other despite my crazy schedule. This worked for a little while, but I still had feelings I couldn't deny for Jason despite trying to suppress them. I even told Jason that we had to keep things strictly professional from now on, to which he agreed. However, this agreement didn't last long. Jason and I were assigned to work in the same area for the next month. One night when we were on break together, he started telling me how much he missed talking to me like we used to. One thing led to another, and we ended up making out in the break room. This was the first time it actually got physical between us, but sadly it wasn't the last. I'm ashamed to say it happened a few more times. At this point, I knew this couldn't keep going on, so I made the decision to break up with my fiancé. I quickly found out that this was the wrong choice. Shortly after, I found out that Jason was sleeping with another girl at work. I was crushed and completely cut him off. I realized I made a mistake and tried to reach out to my fiancé, but it was too late. I got distracted by what could have been and lost track of something great that I already had. I still regret it to this day.
I was a product of an affair between my mom and dad. My mom was already married and had a 1-year-old daughter. She wanted to abort me, but my dad begged her and paid her a hefty sum. She signed over all rights and I didn't see her for my 14 years of life. She recently contacted my dad saying she wanted to get to know me better, and he said it's entirely up to me. I was skeptical but decided to meet her. I've been talking to my mom's side for about 2 months when at a family gathering they all sat me down and said the reason they contacted me was because my half-sister was having kidney failure and was basically dying. At a loss for words, I got up and left. I told my dad and he said it's entirely up to me, but I should get tested just to see before I make my decision. So I did. When my mom found out, she thought this was me agreeing and told everyone the good news. I did a lot of thinking and I decided I would not be donating my kidney. This family had done nothing for me. The only reason they tried to get in contact was for my kidney. I don't want anything to do with them. I got loads of hateful calls and messages, but decided to stand by my decision. My stepsister called me and said I'm a douche for giving her false hope. People are saying I'm wrong because I can save a life. My stepsister did nothing wrong. But I feel so used. Am I the for not giving my sister my guinea?